So you go, you are so deep into metaphysics in spirituality. What have you been through in your life to be so interested in those subjects?
It's funny you mentioned this because actually, I've always kind of been anti norm, anti system, because I've always kind of seen people following the societal programming and I could feel their energy. I could feel it was depressive energy. I could feel it was negative energy. And I was like, weird. Why is everybody so boring? Why is everybody so depressed and miserable? And yet everybody seemed to want to push me towards that societal programming. So as of when I was a child, I was always trying to find what was my purpose, what was exciting. And never ever in school or the random societal stuff was really what I liked. And so I remember one day I woke up with an intuition when I was maybe 9 to 12 years old.
Mhm.
And I was like, I think that I want to discover the secrets of the universe. And I think it's linked to the brain. And I remember at the time, I also talked to my mother about this. And I was like, you know, I want to interest myself and discover the secrets of the universe spiritually. But I don't want to be the guy who is going to be making hugs with trees and be broke, basically. So I want to be an entrepreneur and make money as well because I wanted, the supercars and all that stuff. And for me, both of those ways couldn't work together. For me, they were mutually exclusive. But then she's like, but why can't you do both?
Oh,
And then I was like, maybe there is a way for us to ally spirituality and business. And this is kind of like why I was like so interested in spirituality after I've actually made money with business because at first it started as a breakup, which is classical for most guys. It's like, okay, you have a huge breakup and then you're like, okay, I'm not good enough. So you're going to go to the gym. You go huge into personal development. And then at one point, when you come to personal development, there's so much personal development you can do mentally, physically. At the end of the day, at the tip of the personal development, then you want to make money. And you know that the system is not going to make you money, right? The salary, the employee stuff, the typical 9 to 5 job will never make you money. And it was making me miserable at the time when I had my corporate 9 to 5 job. So at one point in time, after personal development, you start to interest yourself to entrepreneurship. And then once you make a lot of money in entrepreneurship, you're like, okay, that's cool. I have freedom, which was a necessity, by the way. It's not something that is like, oh, wow, it's the goal. No, no, no. Freedom, guys, is the absolute necessity. And then at one point, you're like, okay, well, money, of course, gives you freedom, but it's not the end all be all that everybody describes it to be.
mhm.
And so this is when progressively over time, you interest yourself to something more depth, specifically when you hit plateaus of income. You're like, okay, why do I hit plateaus of income? So you work on your psychology, you work on deeper layers, esoteric layers of self. And then obviously you start to this old idea that I wanted to discover the secrets of the universe. And with my mom saying, why don't you do both, came up.
Mhm.
And this is when I started to interest myself to metaphysics, spirituality, and apply this to business and apply this to my own business, to all my business clients, to be able to help them reach the higher next level. And also, to be quite fair, I interested myself about spirituality and metaphysics also because I was, at first, I had a huge fear of death.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I remember sometimes I had like a tutor in math at home because I was shit in math. And I had like a special aid in math. And I remember I was like, I look at him in the middle of an equation. I was like, by the way, do you know what happens after death? The guy was like, well, we were just doing an equation. What the fuck are you saying, right? And the guy, I think it was a Jewish. So at the time, it was like a bit, he didn't want to push his religion
Okay.
and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a weird question. And so I asked like, is there anything after death? And he couldn't answer, right? Really. And he was like, he was Jewish, but at the same time, he was like, I think there is the voice.
So when did you find your response?
So I actually found the response when I started to interest myself heavily on metaphysics. So for those of you who don't know, metaphysics is basically the study of the unknown or the study of the invisible beyond the physical. Metaphysics is beyond the physical. So it's really like the study of the subatomic plane under the atom. And this is when I started to find some elements of answers. When you say, for instance, when you look at Tesla, so Nikola Tesla,
Mhm.
who said, if you want to discover the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, frequency, I was like, this guy was a genius. So if he goes this way, the way of thinking, maybe he's right in some way, right? And then I also started to study a lot of Einstein. And Einstein said, if you want to have a reality, you need to match the frequency of that reality, and you cannot help but have that reality. So I was like, that's very interesting. And also, I have had a near-death experience. I've had I nearly died from a stroke at 23 because I was purposeless. With parties, girls, drugs, alcohol, that left me to the hospital having a stroke. But I didn't have the classical NDE. Unfortunately, I didn't see the spiritual realm. I nearly died, but it wasn't like, okay, the guy was actually dead and then he resurrected, basically. That wasn't the case. But still, this fear of death, this fear of telling yourself that this was the only life, pushed me to ask a lot of questions. And metaphysics kind of like gave me a few answers to those questionings. And then I met some very interesting spiritual people that also helped me kind of like collaborate my metaphysical knowledge with new spiritual texts, with new spiritual wisdom. And then I started to understand the esoteric layers of the sacred text. Because at the end of the day, the sacred text, whether the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, all of those, they have different layers of interpretation. They have different esoteric layers of understanding. And once you understand the metaphors and you understand the deep layers of those texts, well, you see that everything links with what the quantum physics, modern science metaphysics is saying. And this is when I truly found my passion, because I found it extremely interesting to just discover the secrets of the universe and be able to apply this into your personal development to excel in every single aspect.
So basically, you are a creator who linked metaphysics, spirituality, and business. How do you apply that?
So concretely, once you understand the basics of metaphysics, which is everything is energy, vibration, and frequency, everything around us, right? The stable is vibration and frequency, but at a more dense, compact level. We are frequencies as well. And everything responds to frequency, vibration, and energy. And therefore, if you want better results as a response in your reality, in your outside world, when you need to elevate your frequency. So one of the first things that I do when I have my clients, for instance, that come into the program, the Godlike Reality Creation Program as of 2025, 2026, is basically we need to remove all the bullshit that prevents them from having a low vibration. So typically it would be childhood traumas, the relationship with the parents, the relationship with the money, because the money is kind of like a security associated with the fatherly figure, for instance, etc., etc., etc. So it's all of those negative programming that are fucking people up and that are putting them in a shame, guilt, negative vibration. And it's really, really hard for you to attract more money, whether it's with your business or your job or any type of cash flow vehicle, when you're vibrating at such a low level, which is guilt, shame, and grief, for instance, which are very low vibration on the map of consciousness. If we want, we can pull the map of consciousness as a reminder. But anyway, the main goal is to reprogram the subconscious mind for them to not be self-sabotaging themselves every single day. Then we elevate their vibration, so naturally they'll start to attract synchronicities in their lives that they were never attracting ever before, because they become more aware of what a synchronicity is, what type of synchronicities they're going to attract in their lives. But also, because of their high level of vibration, immediately people can sense their aura. They come to them, they have more respect, and then you see, obviously, with that more respect and more aura comes more opportunities. Because if you respect somebody more, then obviously you will want to do more business with that person, rather than somebody that you disrespect, for instance. So that's like a very classical little example. And then last but not least, we also build them a personal brand, because in this AI world, with people who are more and more, I would say, miserable because they are living in echo chambers with social media or even AI, more and more people are less and less human. And your soul did not incarnate into this third dimensional realm to not live anything else than a human experience. So it wants the roller coaster of emotion. It wants the hardships. It wants the suffering. But it wants it to use that as a quantum jump to be able to grow and elevate. And so the problem with most people nowadays is that they do a lot of personal development, but they don't know how to monetize and capitalize that personal development. And so basically what I help people do is those guys who are ambitious, I help them capitalize on their personal development, whether it's they have had a fitness transformation, a mental transformation, a relationship transformation, an aura transformation, a financial transformation with a different specific type of cash flow vehicle. And I basically help them build a personal brand to showcase and literally capitalize on that vibration and on this aura. So it's basically subconscious reprogramming, elevation of frequency, and then quantum, what I call quantum personal brand, because it's a science in of it itself.
Very, very interesting. So, do you have a morning routine, a morning protocol for me, for us, for someone who constantly self-sabotage, who don't believe in himself or herself?
Absolutely, very good question. So it's extremely important. Most people, why they fuck up their day or they fuck up their life in general is because they're constantly, unconsciously reprogramming themselves negative.
Mm-hmm.
What is the first thing that people do when they wake up? Usually, like if you watch this video, you have like 90% of you guys watching this video, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? You wake up, you immediately scroll to see if, your crush has answered to you, or maybe the OnlyFans model that you jerked off to last night answered to you. All of this bullshit is literally you're opening your phone and you're letting the world, aka social media, because social media is a reflection of the world, to reprogram your subconscious mind. And the thing that most people don't understand is that when you just woke up, you are still in a theta alpha state. So for those of you who don't know, a theta alpha state is basically a state of your brain, basically. And when you're in a drowsy state, this is what we call theta. When you are in a meditative state, this is what we call alpha. And basically, those states are what we call twilight states, meaning they're open states where your subconscious mind is more open for reprogramming. So just imagine your subconscious mind, which is responsible for 95% of what you think, what you feel, what you speak, or what you say, and what you do every single day as automatism, you have the possibility to reprogram it every single morning. And what do? You make it worse by scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on social media, looking at girls that you will never have, lives that you are never going to have because you're not working towards those lives. And you feel angry, you feel guilty, you feel ashamed because after 5 minutes of scrolling, who feels good after 30 minutes of scrolling? Usually you don't. So you're opening up yourself to the world, and therefore you wonder why over and over again you live the same life, because you're actually negatively reprogramming your subconscious mind. So instead of letting the world reprogramming your subconscious mind, be the one that reprograms your subconscious mind. And this is where a morning routine comes in. Super, super important. Especially the one that I use is specifically designed to elevate my frequency. And this is the one that I give all my clients, basically. Because without that, you cannot reprogram your subconscious mind and capitalize on the theta state or the twilight states where your subconscious mind is wide open. And you cannot put yourself in a vibrational momentum for the rest of the day. This is why I always say win the morning, win the day. Because once you win the morning, it's so easy to then capitalize on that momentum and winning and doing the things that you should be doing during the day, because that's what most people struggle with. When everybody's intellectually masturbating about the concept of discipline online, but really and truly it's so easy to be disciplined if you have already won your day and you've already done all the things that you should be doing in the morning. So either way, yeah, definitely, like without going too much in depth, because it's usually what I design specifically custom wise for the clients, because yes, of course I can give you guidelines of a morning routine, but the thing is, depending on what your subconscious issues are, we want to create something that is tackling that, right? If you, for instance, have a negative relationship with your father, with your mother, with the security, with the world, with whatever it is, anxiety of abandonment or anything like that, there is specific things that we need to do. But usually it's like when I wake up, I immediately meditate to really put myself on the theta state and to potentially remove all the garbage thoughts that I have and let them come up and let them not stay and repress themselves in my mind. Then I do 2 types of visualization, whether it's like a financial goal that I'm trying to achieve as if it's already achieved, and basically a dream life as if it's already done. And this immediately puts you in the shoes of the person that already has achieved that financial goal and that dream life as well. Once this is done, after a certain amounts of minutes, then I do what I call a quantum prosperity movie to cement all of these images in my mind, quantum physicalization, then a certain type of quantum affirmation, quantum journaling, and then from there on out, I also do a bit of reading, but high consciousness books, right? You will feel so much better when you start reading high consciousness books instead of settling for average consciousness social media.
But don't you be afraid of being seen as an anomaly?
But I don't give a fuck about being seen as an anomaly, right? The thing is this, of course you're going to be seen as a bit weird, the guy who wakes up at 2:45 or 4 a.m. and do his morning routine, and then after the reading, by the way, I do a fasted workout, and then I come back, etc., etc. But either way, of course you're going to be seen and criticized and judged by the 99%. But at the end of the day, the 99% is not even aware, the 99% masses is not even aware enough to see that what they are doing is not leading to the result that they want. So at the end of the day, you need to fully embody the fuck the world, us against the world. We are the anomaly type of vibe. Because other than that, if you don't embody that and if you're not comfortable being criticized, you'll never make anything big in your life, right? Elon Musk is constantly criticized. Mark Zuckerberg is constantly criticized. Even some politicians or governments or anything, they're constantly criticized. So whenever you are moving out of the sheeple, you're going to be criticized. So make your peace with that, and the sooner you can accept that, the better it is. And I've had so many countless examples in my life where the people that criticized me, they were the one doing the least. And they were the one having the worst life.
Typical.
Yeah, typical. So typically, right, for instance, I remember at one time, there was this, I don't remember in which, oh yeah, hold on, yeah. I remember like I was filming a story or something like that, and I was showcasing one of my girlfriends at the time.
Okay.
And the guy said, oh, like, I'm sure she's a whore or something like that,
Okay.
right? Typical when the girlfriend is quote unquote beautiful, typically she's an escort or a whore, according to the average man. And so the guy sent a message, and then obviously you know me, right? I go and click on the profile, I see a fat dude with balding, and his girl is a troll, right?
Okay.
So I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it's not because they actually hate you; it's because you're projecting a reality, a version of reality that they could have had if they have worked on themselves and fulfilled their potential. So at the end of the day, any type of people that is going to criticize you is usually lower than you. For instance, would you ever imagine Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio send you a comment, hateful comment saying, "Oh, you're a douchebag"? That's not true.
Hell no.
Never, right? Never. So if you can keep that, for the people who are listening, if you can keep that on the top of your mind, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, would they comment on what you're doing right now and criticize you? No, they have other shit to do. They maybe have like some girlfriends to have or whatever it is. So it's always the people who criticize are usually the guys who got triggered by something that you do. And psychologically, it's completely normal.
So, what's the profile of your typical customer client? Is there any?
So the typical customer is quite frankly an anomaly and a very ambitious individual. It's like a high performer that knows already deep in his psyche the potential that this person has. Usually, it's a high performer. It can only already be an online coach making money online. It could be a high level executive. It could be, I've had some multi-millionaire, centimillionaire clients that came to see me to elevate their frequency and reprogram the subconscious mind. It can be basically anomalies and above, basically. What we mean with anomalies is could be not necessarily anomaly right now physically, but it's the potential of being an anomaly.
In the invisible.
In the invisible, right? So they have the potential of being anomalies, and I can sense that. This is why we do it kind of like a diagnosis call. I'm not taking a lot of people when it comes to one-on-one because you need to really see first and foremost if you can help them, and also obviously if you want to see a partnership with them in the long term, because we are in it for the long term. So basically all those YouTube videos that I have on my channel are kind of like to help people get in the first step. You see what I mean? Already start building momentum on the personal development, on their business, on all of that. And then if you want to get to the absolute next level, then obviously this is where I kind of like come in. So the YouTube channel is kind of like dedicated to help as much people as possible to see the anomaly vision, if that makes sense.
So you help people to annihilate their fear, their self-sabotage. But do you have any fear?
Yeah, so I had a lot of fears. This is obviously why I'm so passionate about helping people on this subject. Uh, I when I was a kid, I was a shy and timid kid. I was afraid to talk to girls. I was afraid of being seen.
What?
Yeah. I know. You can't believe it today, but there was a time where literally like there was girls talking to me and I couldn't even respond because I was like, oh, I'm so afraid that
Shaking.
I was stressed, so I wasn't shaking, but yes, I was stressed. But the thing is, I was always afraid of them judging me for some
Mhm.
reason, you know. So it was really like the art of yeah, basically the fear of being seen and the fear of being judged.
Mm.
And so I did a lot of normal people stuff that really didn't necessarily work. I did a lot of theater, right?
Mhm. Oh.
And it's funny because when I did a lot of theater, the moment where I was most enjoying the show was when I had a mask on
Oh.
the theater,
Okay.
right? Because I was hiding my
Yeah,
face, and so the thing was like, okay, now I'm free. You see what I mean?
So it didn't really worked.
So I mean, when I had the mask, I was free,
Okay, okay.
right? But then the thing is, when I took off the mask, obviously then
Okay.
it's myself anymore. So it's like I'm vulnerable now.
Mm.
So I did this, and then I did a lot of martial arts as well. I did 14 years of judo and jiu-jitsu, not Brazilian. I did Japanese jiu-jitsu. Um, that helped me gain a bit of confidence, but not as much as people think, right? A lot of people, yeah, that's fun because a lot of people nowadays, specifically in the manosphere, right, the red pill sphere and stuff like that, in the guys sphere, they're like, oh, you should absolutely learn how to fight. I mean, yeah, but if you're still in the back of your mind running the old subconscious reprogramming, subconscious programming that you had when you were a child that prevents you from being your true confident self, it's going to work, but to some extent, you're not actually solving the root cause. You're kind of like covering it with a dope a Tylenol, if that makes sense, or a Doliprane, you know. So I did that, but then the true thing that really helped me become more confident was taking control over every aspect of my life, reprogramming my subconscious mind at first. When you start reprogramming your subconscious mind, when you start changing your body physically, and every single time you have a feedback in the mirror that you are the boss, right? You're jacked and shredded, boom. Every single time it reprograms your subconscious mind. Because by the way, guys, every single thought that you have, every single feeling, every single word that you speak, every single action that you take or do not take reprograms your subconscious mind every single instant of every single day. So it's very, very important to set up kind of like an environment where you do more positive programming than negative programming. So if you get jacked and shredded every single time you look at the mirror, if you work on your appearance, right, fashion, appearance, face, whatever it is, every single time you have a feedback loop in the mirror, and that helps you be more confident. And then obviously, when you have more girls, when you're making money online, you don't need the system, you're independent. All of this kind of like compounds over and over again to be more confident. But yeah, I would say my biggest fear, to come back to your original question, my biggest fear was the fear of death.
Okay.
And the moment that I annihilate that, I annihilate that, I obliterated it. The moment I obliterated the fear of death, all the thousands of subsequent fears disappear. Because when you think about it, every single fear comes back to the fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we afraid of being rejected by a girl? Because evolutionarily wise, it would mean we're rejected by the clan, and therefore we're not a suitable partner, and therefore we are useless to society, and therefore we're going to be extradized, right, or put aside, and therefore we're going to struggle to survive on our own, and therefore we're going to die. So if you look really deep enough on all of your fears, whether it's the fear of being seen, fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of investing in yourself, fear of taking a risk, it always comes back to the fear of death. And this is where the study of NDEs and OBEs came from. When I started to really be heavily into the study of near-death experiences, I realized that, actually, this is not our only life. This is actually just a transition.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, a transition. And that makes sense also with the third law of thermodynamics, which says that energy can never be destroyed, only transmutated or changed. And it's the same thing with us. We are vibrations, we are energy, we are consciousness, right? And it can never be destroyed. Consciousness can never be destroyed. So we're just going to shift the vehicle from where we are right now to after. And so once you start to truly embody and truly integrate this reality of no, you have nothing to fear when it comes to death, then you can live much more freely. And it's funny, right? When you're not afraid of death, You can live much more freely. But when you're afraid of dying, and when you're afraid of death, you usually also try to do as much thing as possible in this life because you're like, I might as well make it worth it, right? So there was many psychological shifts that happened throughout my life that made me the person that I am today, basically.
Okay. At this point of your life, what's your purpose?
So my purpose before, I'm gonna go
Okay.
chronologically if that's cool with you.
Mm-hmm.
My purpose before, when I first started my personal development journey, is I didn't want to feel that anxiety anymore in my heart. That was the only purpose. Is like I want to love myself enough to be able to not feel that anxiety every time. Then my purpose was get a jacked and shredded body because maybe the girls will like me.
Mm.
It did, right? Then it was like I want love from the outside world, so it was girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that it was money because after my stroke at 23, I was like, okay, I can't stay in the system that made me miserable enough to consume drugs to have that stroke. So I need to escape that 9 to 5 rat race system, and I need to create my own system, personal development, the entrepreneurship system to make money online. And then, so my goal was to make as much money as possible. But now that I've made a lot of money, I realize that numbers on the screen don't really have soul, right? It doesn't have soul. What really truly makes me wake up every single morning is seeing and I know it sounds idyllic or, kind of like, rainbow-ish, but it's true. Rainbow world, but it's true. Like, think about it. When you give 1 million to a billionaire, he doesn't give a fuck, Like, it's not interesting anymore. So usually you have two types of path when you make a lot of money. It's like either you want more power in life or you want more impact, right? So it's kind of like both are kind of linked, but I was like more interested in the impact side of things. So what really excites me every single day today is really like seeing, for instance, the A to Z transformations, right, that I have for my clients, or that I try to help people with my free content or anything like that. When I receive like countless of messages of guys or girls telling me, hey, I've watched your content for a month now, and now I'm feeling much better. I'm not under antidepressants anymore. You saved me from suicide. All of this shit, like, you don't realize the impact that you have until you've actually stayed consistent enough to build kind of like the momentum in the content. So either way, this is kind of like my main goal right now. My mission is to create the next generation of multimillionaires successful in every single aspect, because I'm sick and tired of seeing like multimillionaires that then are depressed, get cheated on by their girls, or are overweight. And then they wonder, oh, but I thought money was going to save me. No. You're depressed because you're not working and you're not aligned spiritually with your potential. So it's really about elevating humanity as a whole, the consciousness of humanity, because let's face it, if humanity, like if the average man had the same consciousness as you and I, we wouldn't have wars. We wouldn't have all the bullshit going on, because it wouldn't even make sense to have wars, because we know the repercussion. We know the energetical repercussion. We know that this is only based on the low vibration that most people have. It wouldn't make sense. So basically the goal is to, number one, my own personal mission is to create like 1,000 millionaires excelling in every single aspect, so health, wealth, relationship, and spiritually, and then elevating the consciousness as a whole of humanity. So yeah.
So you are openly an anomaly, but did you find your tribe since you started online?
So it's a very good question, because when I started online, I didn't find like anybody who I was wowed about, right? It was always very unidimensional guys. It was, this guy made a lot of money, but he's overweight, or he has tits. I'm like, this guy is very good with the ladies, but he's a brokey, right? Oh, okay. This guy is a gym bro, but same thing, he's awkward with the girls. It's like, So, this guy is a spiritual guru, but he's broke. So I'm like, fucking hell, like, where is the guys that have it all, right? So when I first started back in November 2020, I basically created this persona that at the time was called J. Chris Mentor, was this persona that I needed as a mentor.
Okay.
So I created my own mentor by already quantum jumping into a new identity, which was J. Chris Mentor at the time. And so I created this mentor, the mentor that I needed at the time. And I started posting like what this mentor would have taught me if I had him earlier in my life. And this is when I started to blow up on social media, right? The Jake Spencer brand started to blow up, and then I started to make a lot of money with that. But so to answer your question, at first, when I first started, I didn't find the mentors, the people, or the tribe that I wanted. And what I did was I built my own tribe, right? I needed to build my own tribe. I needed to create my own community because I felt like nobody could relate to me until I explained my philosophy and I gave them reasons to adopt that belief system. If you give people reasons to adopt your belief system and they're sound and they're profound and they can see the before and after in positive terms, then they're going to adopt that. People are not dumb, but you need to give them a reason to. So this is kind of like why I created the Anomaly movement, Anomaly Syndicate, and the Godlike Reality Creation Protocol. And then over time, as I elevated my vibration, as I elevated my vibration of the clients that I had, we naturally attracted better people in our lives as well.
So earlier you mentioned that you was afraid of women, you was afraid of judgment,
Mm-hmm.
but now how does it work with women?
It works very well. It works. No, no. Like right now, it's like an entirely other identity. You know, sometimes you need to remind yourself of the past to see the gap that you have, the intergalactical gap that you have with where you're starting from and where you are right now. Because until recently, I forgot, that I was such
Mm-hmm.
a bad guy with the ladies, right? Or a timid or shy guy. So yeah, today like there's no fear of criticism, as I told you, because every single time that I see a hater or criticism, I look at his profile. It's always the same thing:
Mm.
miserable, depressed in the eyes, overweight, and doesn't have his shit together. Um, and then with the ladies is phenomenal. And by the way, for those of you who watch this video, it's very very important that you not only see the potential of somebody, because a lot of women will basically see the potential of a guy, right? You don't necessarily need to be crazy rich right now, you don't necessarily need to have it all figured out right now, but what happens is you need at least to have some potential. You need to be ambitious. This is usually where you start to attract the top girls, right? But it's the same thing with you. As you level up, you need to look at the potential of someone, right? Because this society is fucking up a lot of people with OnlyFans for the guys, with creepy guys that approach women all the time.
Mm.
And we can talk about it, because Olivia and I, we kind of like protect some girls because a lot of guys are really, really weird. Um, Either way, this society doesn't necessarily guide naturally, whether it's men or women, in the right direction. So the goal when you have a woman or you attract several partners is also to look at the potential, because you and her will elevate yourself together. So the more you work on yourself, the easier it gets. Obviously, like I'm not gonna tell you something that you guys know. It's like the easier you work, the more you work on yourself, personal development, mentally, physically, spiritually, the more aligned as a guy you are and multidimensional you are as a guy, the easier it gets, obviously, with the ladies, right? Like you all know this, it's just that you're not doing the work necessary to be able to reach that level. Um, there's going to come a point in your life where you're going to have such a strong physique that girls are immediately going to feel your aura, and then when they start to talk to you, they're going to be impressed with your intellect, and then they're going to connect deeply with you spiritually wise. So from there on out, you become very much irreplaceable, undeniable when it comes to a potential partner. So this is kind of like what we're trying to aim here with this YouTube channel, is to help you become a multidimensional winning individual, or an anomaly, or an undeniable, irreplaceable asset in everybody's life. And just to finish off and conclude with the ladies' point, um, I'm huge into everybody around me is either an asset or a liability. Now you may say, oh, it's a bit black and white as a way of seeing it. No, the problem is there's many. There's a panel and a spectrum of assets, and there's a panel and spectrum of liabilities. You need to make sure that everybody around you is an asset, and that is someone that you can see yourself, or at least that can bring you something in the long term. We are past losing time, wasting time with people that are going to drag us down, right? So it's the same thing with women. Most men, unfortunately, they just settle for the first woman that they find beautiful, but there is plethora of beautiful women in this life. You need to see if she's an asset physically, mentally, spiritually, and if she can help you elevate, right? That's kind of like my whole view on the thing. But that's this philosophy can be applied and extrapolated extrapolated on every single dimensions of life.
So to conclude, maybe you symbolize hope, and for the average man or for the hopeless man who think, fuck, my vie shit, I can't do anything, I'm doomed to be what I am now. What's your message? What's your message for him?
You're never doomed. That's the reality of the game. You're never doomed. You can always better yourself. You can have drastic transformation. You can become unrecognizable in a few years, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's spiritually. You can change everything. I went from a shy and timid kid with glasses, nerdy looking video game addict, to having great success with the opposite gender. I went from being a depressed 9 to 5 slave to being a guy who transforms hundreds of people's lives online. I went from being a skinny, scrawny kid to a jacked and shredded motherfucker. And some people, I wouldn't say how much, but like some people are willing to pay me a lot to just teach them how to have my body. So, and right now I'm only considering myself as 1% of my potential. But the reality of the game is that you can change every single thing. Your soul decided to incarnate into this third dimensional realm to be able to elevate and ascend to the highest divine embodiments that you guys can have. So really and truly, if right now you're a bit lost in your life, understand that every single pain, every single suffering is actually God putting you in front of those challenges, to be able for you to elevate, because you wouldn't elevate without pain, suffering, and challenges in your life. We usually learn lessons from challenges, right? So all the challenges that you have right now, the depression, you feeling miserable, you feeling suicidal, you feeling lost, you being broke, all of these is meant to elevate your identity, because in quantum physics what they've proven is identity and reality are synonyms. So if you elevate your identity, you naturally elevate your reality. So it's all a game of identity. The best thing you can have, the best lesson that you can take from this video is change your identity and you'll change your reality. This is why stop focusing on outside circumstances. Start focusing on you, only you, because you can only pour from a filled cup. So if you don't have love for yourself, if you don't have worked on yourself, you cannot help other people and you cannot be an asset to other people. So first work on yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually, and relationship wise, and you'll see that you'll soon start to become naturally an asset for people's lives, undeniable and irreplaceable. So Olivier, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking the questions. So as you guys have understood, Olivier is French, but he's soon going to be an expert in English. And let us guys know if in the comments you like this type of interview, if you have any questions that you want to ask me or if you want to ask Olivier. It is going to be our pleasure to answer that. Let us know if you like this type of interview. Love you guys. Keep ascending and stay anomalies.